Hey guys, it's God Bars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 87th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it had, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. Going back over to New York, Brooklyn to be specific, this is another act that was pretty prolific and ahead of their time in multiple ways, but they also pushed the boundaries of what the music industry would even allow, comprised of underground royalty like Ill Bill, Gore-Tex Medina, now known as Lord Goat, as well as Sabak Red and DJ Eclipse. Nonfiction was discovered by MC Search of Third Base, who really doesn't get enough credit in my eyes as a mentor, especially considering the role he had in careers of guys like Nas and MF Doom. Bill was also part of the supergroup La Coca Nostra alongside DJ Lethal, Slain, and Danny Boy of House of Pain. Another affiliate of this crew that appears all over this album is Ill Bill's arguably even more unhinged brother Necro, who I do believe was an official member at one point. The reason I feel it's important to discuss him is not only is he an incredibly talented producer who made plenty of classic beats for nonfiction, but he was actually the first person in this particular scene I became familiar with through his insanely blunt and honest but somewhat comical song I Need Drugs, which is basically a morbid parody of the LL Cool J song I Need Love. As someone who spent many years as an addict, I remember this song and its subsequent video very well, as it had a pretty striking mix of dark comedy and real pain, and it was also my introduction to Uncle Howie. The uncle of Necro and Bill, Howie was a constant reoccurring figure in their music, and he was the basis for one of Ill Bill's most successful tracks, My Uncle, off his The Hour of Reprisal album. And you should really hear that track if you haven't, especially if you have an addict in your family, because it's pretty heavy. Unfortunately, Howie would pass away in 2010, leaving behind Uncle Howie Records, which was originally created in '98 to distribute nonfiction LPs, but it quickly expanded and became a pretty notable entertainment company in underground hip hop. While these themes of hard drugs show up in spades on the Futures now, in terms of controversial content, that's just the tip of the iceberg. While I don't believe they really have an affiliation outside of Ill Bill's appearance on Fantastic Damage, I've always found a similarity between nonfiction and another legendary New York-based underground hip-hop crew, that being Company Flow. This mainly comes out through their shared distrust of the police and government and focus on government co-ops and conspiracies. However, while LP's views and his early career are shrouded in dense coded lyricism, this LP couldn't be more upfront and in your face about its beliefs. From the poisoning of food and drugs to being so paranoid you suspect the CIA of directly plotting to take you out. Personally, I have to take this stuff with a grain of salt because in modern times there's an embarrassing amount of people who just accuse every single celebrity death of foul play, even when there's really no hypothetical benefit for anyone, let alone the slightest bit of evidence. And God forbid one of the 100,000 people who spew conspiracy theories daily happen to die like anybody else. To these people, there's literally not one conspiracy theorist who's died of natural causes. But that's partially because it's become more of a contrarian thing that people use to avoid real discussions, and that obviously wasn't the angle being taken by nonfiction and company. You have to remember that this was in New York right after 9/11, which helps fuel this unsettling feeling the Futures now creates, where they constantly highlight how close we are to the end of the world and how that attitude of, well, it's coming in the future, we don't have to worry about it now, doesn't really work. While everyone's rapping their ass off on here, arguably my favorite verse on this entire thing is when El Bill comes in with, I deliver AIDS infected needle acupuncture, gangster and hustler murderer and kidnap a suspect, rapper and dust head from blood red to crit blue. My shit's too colorful, running through with 100 goons and maniacs. If a bitch like to suck dick, she a brainiac. Bust up in they mouthpiece, see how they react, take it back like an instant replay, live in the PJs, watching my uncle Freebase analyzing the anguish on a fiend's face. I learned to love my trees laced, the way the PCP taste, the way it make me see things, old school dice spot bills and sheepskins. As I write this, I'm rocking iceberg jeans and Tims, thinking where I'm gonna be in 2007, either a house in the Hamptons or a house in heaven. I'd be chillin' on the beach in the south of Venice or murking the president live on Channel 7. There's many points about politicians and people in positions of money, fame, and power, and how they'll get passes for using the same drugs they shun the lower class for using. All these themes and many more accumulate into fiery, non-stop verses where everyone's on the same page and just tearing that piece of paper to shreds. There's a clear influence in the way they write and flow from legends like Cool G Rap or Big Pun, where these grimy, drug-heavy bars are delivered via dense, scheme-driven lines that never fail to impress. Necro not only made some of the most memorable instrumentals for this LP, but he also had some of my favorite verses with multiple dope guest appearances on here. One moment I love is when he says, "Jump off the roof and dive headfirst into the concrete till the meat splits and blood red squirts. There's no brawling with the strategy of energy. Your cavity splattered, you're falling, now gravity's your enemy. Shooting a bullet through your head is all it takes to make you dead. Put a gat to your head, only thing left to do is pull it. Simple like press and record. I'm the remote erasing your life. Elimination, the message is stored. I got a fascination for assassination. Half the nation saw Kennedy murdered as Jackie Onassis faced him." While Necro does the bulk of production here, as I mentioned, there are some pretty big players who also provide beats here and there, including DJ Premier, Pete Rock, Large Professor, and Juju of the Beatnuts, who also is one of the MCs featured on the Posse Cut Suicide Bomb, along with Marley Metal and Moonshine. But while those guys make up a stellar group track, they aren't the only featured artists on the album, as we also get appearances from Xenophia Mitchell, A-Track, Fear Factory, the supervillain MF Doom himself, and strangely enough, the Deftones. I hate cutting down the track list for this one since it's such a consistent project, but my honorable mentions include Futurama, Drug Music, There Is No Future, Say Goodbye to Yesterday, Strange Universe, It's Us, Suicide Bomb, and We Are the Future. My personal three favorite tracks on here would have to be the CIA's Trying to Kill Me, Rockstar's Black Helicopters. Thank you for watching my 87th video. Next time we're going to talk about a legend that I actually discussed a little bit in this video, that being the all-time great MF Doom. The reason I don't mind saying who it's going to be ahead of time for once is Doom had such a vast output in the 2000s that even with me having covered two of those already, there's a good chance you won't see the one I pull coming. So check for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments are off this paranoia-filled masterpiece. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.